I hadn't entered Red Creek Valley yet, but already I could feel its darkness reaching out for me. Finding Ethan Carter wasn't going to be as easy as knocking on his door. I was too late for that.
From the independent Polish development studio, The Astronauts, comes a chilling and beautiful adventure game that will surely leave you wishing you had more to play. Hi, my name is John Cox, and today we're going to take a look into the game The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. Ethan Carter is actually The Astronauts' first developed game, and I must say, they came out swinging. The game follows Paul Prospero, a detective with unique abilities which he uses to solve his cases. He receives a letter from Ethan Carter, a young boy who is in danger and is currently missing. Paul begins to explore Red Creek Valley in hopes of uncovering the mysteries surrounding the area and saving Ethan from the darkness that resides there.
I've learned two things in my life. No place is truly quiet, and nowhere is really ordinary.
Let's talk about the visual aspects of The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, which is quite unarguably where the game shines the most. The game runs on the Unreal Engine, and you can immediately see that from the first few minutes of gameplay. The forest that you spend most of your time in is breathtaking. Gorgeous is close to an understatement, and I found myself, many times, just stopping and looking around at the scenery that was directly in front of me, and looking off into the distance at the mountains and trees engulfed in fog. The use of photogrammetry worked so well. Just walking into a building, I was floored by the amount of time and effort that went into the textures that made up the interior of the house. The game, when played, should be played slow and mindfully. You really need to soak up the eye candy all around you to enjoy The Vanishing of Ethan Carter to its fullest. The colors in the game were glowing and noticeable. It gave off this feeling of a crisp fall afternoon. However, the game being so visually appealing sometimes goes against itself when you can clearly tell that not much thought or effort was put into the environment. The only example of this that was noticeable was when you entered the mines portion of the game, which were lacking in anything nice to look at, but that was a minor issue. Get it? Minor issue? Okay, I'll go sit in the corner now. The praise given to the visual part of the game is going to be completely mirrored in the audio section as well. The soundtrack in The Vanishing of Ethan Carter was a superb combination of soothing and mysterious, which fit perfectly with the overall theme of the game. However, going back to the mine portion of the game, it seemed like it lacked any kind of a soundtrack and was very awkward at times. Almost like I accidentally turned off the music in my settings. What the mines had going for them, audio-wise, was the well-thought-out sound effects that were added. Your footsteps had a whole new sound to them as your feet scraped across the rock ground rather than the soft grass that you were previously experienced in the game. However, without a decent soundtrack, the creative new sound effects actually worked against itself by making the player painfully aware that there was little to no music accompanying the mining experience. The voice acting, however, was fantastic, and I felt myself growing attached to the characters surprisingly fast because of this.
Travis, tell me where Ethan is, now.
I'm giving the sleeper what he wants, what all of us want. Look, old man, you need to go home.
Now let's shift gears to gameplay. The first thing you see when loading up the game is a message. This game is a narrative experience that does not hold your hand. And true to its words, The Vanishing of Ethan Carter sticks to its motto. The game does not guide you in any way whatsoever. In fact, during my playthrough of the game, I found myself accidentally skipping an event in the beginning of the game. However, after completing a different part of the game, I found myself naturally backtracking to the event that I had missed. Which sounds like bad game design, but in fact, it felt very free and natural, like there was no set chronological event path. Instead, I felt like I had my own free will to explore and had to rely on my own detective instincts to solve the case. This game is a shining example for any indie game developers that might want to make an adventure game. It shows exactly how to convey to your player how to play your game without having to bombard them with pesky tutorials or character tip dialogue. Watching this clip as I figure out one of the game's main searching mechanics. I do this naturally through the game communicating to the player through gameplay and visuals. When it comes to the controls of The Vanishing of Ethan Carter, they were smooth and made sense with the pace of the game, and I never fumbled once around the environment, but rather seamlessly walked around the beautiful world. The game design itself felt very nice. The terrain was very open, but not quite open world. It kept you on their game path and kept you moving forward, but still letting you explore your surroundings with many hidden rewards. With that being said, I believe that in the design of this game lies its greatest weakness, and that is a lack of any kind of a map. The game itself is not all that large, but it can feel like a maze at times with how many paths there are in the forest and the town. Granted, while exploring these paths are part of the wandering into the unknown feel of the game, I felt that once I had gone down a path, I needed a map to keep track of that particular road and where I was in respect to it. A great addition to this game would have been a map that would reveal areas once you have explored them, still keeping the mystery of the game while keeping the player from becoming frustrated about where exactly they are. Finally, let's take a look at the story that drove The Vanishing of Ethan Carter. When playing the first quarter of the game, the narrative and the storyline seemed like it was going to be what made it great. Unfortunately, once you got halfway or even less into the game, the narration started to become confusing and cliché. The story took a turn into painfully predictable and an obvious ending. I really did walk away from the game with a feeling of being cheated on what could have been an amazing and creative story and conclusion.
I have to destroy the room!
Corvus, I'm sorry. Ethan.
Oh no!
I can't let you do that.
To wrap it all up, the game was extremely enjoyable to play, and it had just the right amount of driving frustration to keep me interested in playing without a single break. The puzzles were unique and fun and fit in with the world that was created. The game is stunningly visual, and the use of photogrammetry worked beautifully and brought the world around you to life. The soundtrack will leave you with a peaceful but chilling feeling and making you ready to curl up in a blanket and watch the leaves change. Despite its lack of a unique storyline, uninspired mining music, and a few frustrating lost in the woods without a map moments, The Vanishing of Ethan Carter is a game that all adventure and mystery fans simply cannot miss.
Whatever had turned Ethan's family against him, the grandfather was trying to resist. Age helps against those things that feed on hate. Not because of wisdom or experience, because the old are tired. Their hate is less useful.